Hello everyone, and welcome back to another ASMR storybook reading. Today's story is called The Nightingale. Many years ago, the Emperor of China lived in a palace that was surrounded by beautiful gardens. Visitors came from all over the world to admire his silk draperies, exquisite vases, and rare flowers. But after the visitors toured the palace and gardens, they wanted to see more. "Don't let our trip end," they would say. A fisherman heard these words. "I can show you the most beautiful thing in all of China," he would say. He began taking visitors into the forest to see a beautiful nightingale that lived there. At first, they would simply grumble at the sight of the gray bird. "We walked out here for this," they said. But then the nightingale would open its mouth. The nightingale's song was lovelier than anything the visitors ever heard. The visitors returned home and told their friends about the bird's beautiful singing. More people came to visit the palace gardens. The nightingale became known as the most beautiful thing in all of China. Everyone had heard of this most remarkable bird. Everyone, that is, except the emperor himself. The Emperor of China was an old man. He stayed inside his palace and knew nothing of the nightingale. One day, he received a letter that came from the Emperor of Japan. "I have heard of your wonderful nightingale," the Japanese emperor wrote. "I will arrive in 2 days to admire this bird." The Emperor of China was puzzled. He summoned his prime minister. "Have you heard of this nightingale that is the most beautiful thing in all of China?" the emperor asked. "No, Your Excellency," the prime minister scratched his chin. "Nightingales are quite plain birds." "That may be," said the emperor, "but the Emperor of Japan arrives in 2 days. He expects to see this nightingale. Search until you find it." The prime minister quickly searched every inch of the palace, but he could not find the nightingale. One day before the Japanese emperor arrived, the Emperor of China still could not find the bird. The next morning, the Emperor of China summoned the Prime Minister. "The Emperor of China will be here today," he told them. "You must find this magnificent nightingale." The Prime Minister trekked into the woods and was about to give up when he came upon the fisherman. The fisherman led him right to the nightingale. The Prime Minister marched into the palace with the bird in hand, just as the Japanese emperor arrived. "So, this is the famous nightingale, the most beautiful thing in all of China," said the Emperor of Japan. "I must say, he looks rather plain." Suddenly, the nightingale opened his mouth. Out came the most beautiful song anyone had ever heard. The Emperor of Japan was speechless. The Emperor of China cried tears of joy. "I must find a way to thank you for allowing me to hear your nightingale's song," declared the Emperor of Japan. after day, the nightingale's song filled the palace. People crowded in to hear beautiful music. Someone always said, "Too bad the plain nightingale doesn't look as lovely as he sounds." The emperor heard these comments, which made him very angry. The nightingale's song brought him such joy. He was happier now than ever before. "I will not have people saying unkind words about the lovely nightingale," he said. The emperor gave the bird a golden perch to sit on. When he adorned the precious nightingale with ribbons and jewels, the people were delighted. "Now the bird looks almost as lovely as he sounds," they said. Every day the nightingale sat on his golden perch, wearing his jewels and singing his song. The emperor thought the little bird looked tired and a little sad. He invited the nightingale into his private chambers to sing to him at night. The nightingale perched on the emperor's bed and sang just for the emperor. "Gold and ribbons and jewels do not enhance your lovely voice," said the emperor. "You are the most beautiful thing in all of China when you are yourself, singing your pure, sweet song." The emperor drifted off to sleep each night to the sound of the nightingale's beautiful song. The bird was happy too. One day, a present arrived from the Emperor of Japan. "I hope you enjoy this gift," wrote the Japanese emperor. "It is a small token compared to the great joy you gave me when you let me hear the nightingale." Inside the package was a nightingale decorated with emeralds, sapphires, and rubies. On its back was a tiny silver key. When the emperor wound the key, the mechanical bird began to sing one of the nightingale's songs. The bird did not sound as lovely as the real nightingale, and it only sang one song. Still, the emperor was pleased. He ordered a second golden perch to be placed beside the first. "Now you will get some rest," he told the nightingale. The people were happy. "Finally, a nightingale that looks as lovely as it sounds," they said. They didn't notice that the jeweled bird's song was not as sweet as the real nightingale's song. They asked to hear the new nightingale over and over. The people ignored the real nightingale, so he flew home to the forest. Only one person noticed that the nightingale had gone: the emperor. He missed his friend deeply. "Perhaps it's for the best," the emperor said. "The nightingale is happier in the forest." The people never grew tired of the mechanical bird's song until one morning, with a loud twang and a pop, it stopped. The emperor shook the bird. The prime minister wriggled its key. The bird would not play. They called in the watchmaker. "A spring has sprung," the watchmaker proclaimed. "I'll fix it, but you'll have to be careful. Only wind it on special occasions." The emperor was sad. He missed his friend, the real nightingale. Now even the mechanical bird would not sing. The emperor grew sick and weak. The prime minister and all the lords and ladies of the court tried everything, but nothing helped. The old fisherman heard of the emperor's illness and told the nightingale. The nightingale flew straight to the emperor's chambers. He perched on his bed and began to sing his beautiful song. The emperor opened his eyes. "You came back," whispered the emperor. Tears of joy streamed down his cheeks. The nightingale sang a sweet song for the emperor. The two old friends visited late into the night. The emperor sat up in bed, and the color returned to his cheeks. The nightingale was happy that he could make the emperor well. The nightingale loved the emperor because the emperor appreciated him just as he was. The emperor loved the nightingale because he was his companion. The two friends never parted. As long as the emperor loved the nightingale for being himself, the nightingale gladly sang his precious melodies in the emperor's palace. The